Hi, I'm Dave Anthony, and we're breaking down the Manitoba Junior Hockey League playoffs in the Western Conference. We got Benny Walchuk and Darnell Duff to join us here to talk about the series between the Waywayseecappo Wolverines and the Virden Oil Capitals. Benny, we'll start with you as a guy that's called some Waywayseecappo games this year. Tell me what you like about this team heading into round one against the Oil Caps.
I think it's easy to say. I know talking to Taylor each and every week, he's just excited about his depth. I know this is probably one of the deepest Waywayseecappo Wolverine teams they've had for a very long time. I know when I first started calling games for Wayway back in the early 2010s, they had some very good deep teams, but this is a very, very deep team, top to bottom. And then what stands out is their offensive ability. I know Boston Bird's been a great addition for them since coming over from the OCM Blizzard. They've added Colton Schindel. They've added Joey Moffitt, who are MJHL champions to boot back in 2019. So I think this team is just great offensively. And if their power play is unbelievable, they just work the puck around so well. Lonan Balger's been a breakout season on the back end as well for the Waywayseecappo Wolverines. So I think just their offensive ability stands out. And now they're getting some very timely goaltending. I know Brett Merwald has come over in a trade with Humboldt. He's had some Western Hockey League experience with the Moose Jaw Warriors. And they have Liam Taraboski, who's been there for quite a while. It seems like Liam's been there for about 3 or 4 years or 5 or 6 years, but he's into his 19-year-old season as well. So it's just the way the Waywayseecappo Wolverine team has come on. I know a lot of people thought they would have great success last year with Mackenzie Belinsky and company leading the way. Unfortunately, their season got cut short due to the pandemic. So it's just nice to see the Waywayseecappo Wolverines kind of regroup and revamp. And you got to give a lot of credit to Taylor Harnett for revamping this roster and adding some more veteran talent up front. So I think just the offensive ability and the way they can score goals really stands out for me.
Darnell, as a voice of the Dauphin Kings, you've watched Virden go up against the Dauphin Kings, one of the top teams in the West. What makes Virden so difficult to play against, and what's something that Waywayseecappo is going to have to deal with in this series?
Yeah, when you talk about Waywayseecappo, Benny's scoring, this is a Virden Oil Capitals team that I'm really worried about defensively stopping them, led by guys like Carson Biden's, the MJHL's Rookie of the Year. He's already committed to play Division I hockey. Braden Fisher is having a fantastic season offensively. Even on the back end, they have some guys that can, capitalize offensively. And then you go in net. I've seen Bailey Monteith a few times. He probably actually had 2, perhaps, saves of the year against the Kings earlier this year when the Kings came back in that wild overtime game. But this is a Virden Oil Capitals team that I also believe possesses a lot of speed. They like to move the puck around, also pretty lethal in the power play. So you're putting two teams that are extremely offensively gifted against each other. I do believe this series is going to come down to who can make that big stop in net, whether it be Meerwald or if Taraposki gets the start. We know it's going to be Bailey Monteith for the Virden Oil Capitals. So I think two real strong teams that this series is going to be dictated by that one big save, whether it be in Game 6, whether it be in Game 7. I believe that's really the difference because both these teams can score. Both these teams can play physical at times. I think Wayway probably wins the rough and tough stuff more than the Oil Capitals. Virden's not a team that really likes to play that physical brand of hockey. They like to beat you with the speed. But I think they're two pretty even games or two pretty even teams, and looking forward to one heck of a series.
Yeah, it should be a dandy in that Western Conference. Benny, Darnell just alluded to it. Wayway likes a rough and tumble game, but with it comes penalties, and they've piled up the penalty minutes this year. And if they want to play that kind of game against Virden, that's maybe not a strategy for winning. How does Waywayseecappo toe the line of being physical without going too far and giving Virden unnecessary power play chances?
I think you just got to rely on the experience. I know with Colton Schindel and Joey Moffitt, they've been there. There've been a couple other guys. Boston Bird's played a long time as well. So I think you just have to rely on those guys, and they have to kind of pass the message on to the rest of the bunch. Hey, we're playing at home or we're playing on the road. We have to play that in-your-face style, but we have to play it on the edge so we don't pop over the edge. So I think you just have to rely on the experience. And like Darnell said, the Virden team is very explosive. I've seen them the last few games when the Swan had their 4-game series with Virden. If you get it in penalty trouble, they can make you pay. They have really good back end. And like you said, Carson Biden's, Braden Fisher, you got Dylan Halliday there who can really shoot the puck. So if you get into penalty trouble against this Virden team, it could change the fortunes around for the Waywayseecappo Wolverines. So you just got to toe that edge and rely on that veteran experience to kind of keep the guys at bay.
Darnell, Virden has played very well down the stretch. Actually, since Christmas, they've really started to come on. Are you a believer that you can carry regular season momentum into the playoffs, or is Virden almost starting from level ground, just like Waywayseecappo is, who maybe had a bit of a roller coaster second half of the season? What's your opinion on momentum heading into Game 1, Round 1?
Yeah, I think it's important to try and build momentum. Have a strong ending to the season, which the Oil Capitals did, and the Wolverines not so much. I really do believe that is a factor. But I think at the end of the day, after a week off, at times in the regular season down the stretch, when you're in a playoff spot, locked in playoff spot, you're not perhaps playing your full lineup. You're trying out some new things, maybe trying to stuff the stat sheet a little bit. So I think both teams, perhaps the Oil Capitals did more of that in the last 3, 4, or 5 weeks of the season. But I think for the most part, it's a clean stretch between two good hockey clubs, both with experience. Perhaps you talk about the Wolverines have a little more experience on their end, but I think it's pretty much an even slate. You look, the Wolverines had some struggles. The Oil Capitals were strong at the end of the day in the last 5 weeks of the season. But I think it's just pretty much overall just a reset, and looking forward to what should be a fun series. But if it does turn out to be what team has the most momentum, of course it's going to be the Oil Capitals, because they had a real good, strong finish.
All right, boys, let's wrap this up here. Benny, we'll go to you. Give us a player that we should be watching for the Waywayseecappo Wolverines in this series you expect to have an impact, and give us a series prediction.
Well, it's a almost player to align with Joey Moffett, with Colton Shindo, Boston Bird. I know they've been playing together for quite a while. I'm not sure if they'll split them up here. We'll see how the series goes. But if they're together as a unit, they can be unstoppable. They provide that grit, they provide that experience, and they can score goals. So I think that line is going to be very good. You look at outside their roster, you got Colby Watton, Logan Watton, the two brothers that have been playing together. They can make an impact as well. And you got some role players. You got like Luke Robson, he's a youngster, only 17 years old, but he's really chipped in offensively. So he could be those Cinderella and the under the radar star too. But talked about goaltending. I think goaltending is going to be huge for him as well. Their back end maybe doesn't defend as well as some other teams in the league. They do have a lot of offense from the back end, but I think they're going to have to be a little bit more structurally better on the defense. So for prediction wise, I think Wayway, just with that extra home game, if it does go 7, I think they'll be all right. So it's a tough place to play in Wayway. It doesn't matter where you are in the standings. I've been there for almost 10 years calling games, and you can be bottom of the league, the Wolverines, or top of the league. It's always a tough place to play, but I'm going to go with the Wolverines in 6.
Shout out to Zach Ricacci, wonderful goaltender coach for the Waywayseecappo Wolverines, and he'd be mad if we didn't mention him, so we'll give him a shout out there. Darnell, how about you give us a player from Virden that's maybe been a pain in the side of the Dauphin Kings this season, or someone that stood out to you, and give us a prediction as well.
Well, certainly going to be two big players are Braden Fisher and Carson Bidens, but a guy who I'm expecting to perhaps take his play to the next level, and I think everybody around the league has been expecting it since he was acquired by the Oil Capitals at the trade deadline, but we haven't seen a whole lot of him, is Nathan Driver. The guy's a real good scorer, and I think Virden Oil Capitals fans perhaps have been a little bit let down with his production offensively over the last couple of months since he was picked up at the trade deadline. It hasn't hurt the club because other guys on the roster have been able to pick it up, but I do expect Driver to get things going here in the first round of the postseason. And if he gets things going, it's going to be that much tougher to beat this team because they're going to have one more guy that can stuff the net. And as we know, they already have several guys that can do it. I think if it gets to Game 7 this series, I think Waywayseecappo in their home arena does get the job done. I mean, we know those horns, as you guys know, those horns go off pretty much, it seems like 400 times a game. But overall, I think it's a great atmosphere in Waywayseecappo. I love the renovations they've done there in that arena. I think Taylor Harnett and crew have done an incredible job over the past few years. But I do think Virden closes this series on home ice in Game 6. I just think their firepower is going to be a little more fireful going in. And I think goaltending, as mentioned, I think Bailey Monteith is going to be able to outshine whoever starts in net, whether it be Mirwald or Taraposky. So I'm taking the Oil Capitals in 6 games in this one.
One of the closest regular season series throughout the years, should make for a dandy playoff series. Benny, Darnell, thank you guys so much for joining today, and that closes this round of playoff preview for the MJHL.